Hello students, welcome to this YouTube channel. In my last lecture on history of English literature, I have described about Anglo-Saxon period and specifically my topic was Anglo-Saxon elegiac poetry. Now, as I've discussed that under the group of poetry in the Anglo-Saxon period, we have three major subsections. The first one is Anglo-Saxon heroic poetry. Number two, it was Anglo-Saxon elegiac poetry. And number three, it was Anglo-Saxon religious poetry or Christian poetry. So today I will discuss on Anglo-Saxon heroic poetry. So before going to the individual texts that are considered to be wonderful specimens of Anglo-Saxon heroic poetry, let us consider that why heroic poetry is very important in Anglo-Saxon period first, and what do we mean by Anglo-Saxon heroic poetry, or rather what do we mean by the heroic poetry in detail, and how so far the heroic poetry of the Anglo-Saxon period, they cover the basic traits of Anglo-Saxon life. So that is the objective or the focus of this particular class. So let us go with the heroic poetry. So why heroic poetry? Now you see that whenever we deal with a particular society, whenever we deal with a particular culture, probably you see that prior to Caxton, there was no particular possibility of printing the text. You can find some inscriptions being made on stones or maybe on parchments, but at the same time you will find that somehow whenever we try to identify the history, the lifestyle, whether it is sociological history, whether it is anthropological history, when we try to gather history, we try to gather information about a certain period, we need some documents, you see. So ultimately, when, so in the present scenario, when we try to gather information of a class or about a class, or maybe a clan, or maybe a province, it is not very hard to identify, to get something or to gather some information about these personalities, or maybe the groups, or maybe the clans. But think about the Anglo-Saxon period. So ultimately, it's a matter of research. It's a matter of a major problem to identify that what are the trains, the major trains of life leading, what were their patterns of habitat, what were their language. So these were the matter of critical conjecture through ages, you see. Ultimately, by assimilating multiple resources that have been found to be considered as important considering the Anglo-Saxon period, we have gathered some informations about their traits and tendencies. We have already told you about Angles and Saxons and Jutes, what happened to them, their Scandinavian origin, the pattern of life leading that they were habituated in, say that social and religious cult, everything has to be discussed in detail. Now, fundamentally, what happens, that whenever we deal with the Anglo-Saxon people, whenever we try to identify the basic cults and traits and tendencies of these Anglo-Saxon men, ultimately you will find that they were warriors. Yes, out and out they're warriors, just because you will find that at the time of Anglo-Saxon period, eventually they had to fight against everything just for their survival, just for their existence, you see. And as we know, it is the typical Darwinian concept, struggle for existence and survival of the fittest. So whenever we deal with Hengist and Harsha, or maybe the famous personalities of like King Alfred, okay, so you will gather the basic informations that their typical temperament, that means the temperament of these Angles and Saxons and Jutes, or maybe the other personalities who are associated with the Anglo-Saxon period, you will find that to show heroism, to show the heroic traits and tendencies was their primary concern. That means it is not showing your heroism, rather they are dealing a life of heroic temperament. Now, what happens, the concept of heroism, it had changed time to time. Okay, that means what do we feel or what we feel about heroism, say in the age of some medieval period, that particular concept of heroism cannot be applicable in the 21st century. Say you consider that Macbeth, for example, say in 1600 or 1610 or something. So you will find that Macbeth that have been made by Shakespeare, Macbeth is being treated as a hero. Why? Because Macbeth could kill single-handedly in a battle. Okay, but fundamentally, that particular temperament in a present scenario is not to be considered to be good. Why? Because this is considered to be criminalistic instincts. So ultimately, okay, obviously there is some patriotic perspectives are there. Obviously, there are some kind of licenses that have been given to the warriors today. But at the same time, what I'm trying to suggest here that the concept of heroism, it actually changes time to time, and ultimately you will find that in the Anglo-Saxon period, as the period was ruled by the warriors, including the king. The typical formation of poetry, the typical formation of literature must carry some heroic temperaments within. So apart from the other two sections of the poetry, that is the elegiac poetry that deals with some subjective implications, that deals with your own emotions and feelings, and obviously Christian poetry that have to be associated with the typical form of religion that is in work, you will find that the major subdivision of Anglo-Saxon period has to be the heroic poetry. Why? Because you will find that in heroic poetry, the actual pattern, the actual temperament of these people were critically being evaluated or critically being described. Now, what happens, that during the periods of Anglo-Saxon or during the Anglo-Saxon period, what we can trace, what you can find, there is an obvious suggestions to the scopes. You know what is scop? They are the minstrels, and generally we find that the scopes actually moved from one particular place of the period of the provinces to another place, and they actually sing their minstrelsy, or they actually sing their songs. Okay, so what happens to be a truth, you see, that in the songs of the scop, we can trace that there are ample provision, ample references of the story matters. Okay, that means the to some extent it's like the ballads, or maybe you will find that there are ample provisions of the stories related to the warfare and so. Just like, for example, in Anglo-Saxon period, you will find there are three particular battles which are considered to be very important. So far as the cultural history, so far as the political history is concerned. And these three battles were the Battle of Finsburg and Brunanburg and Maldon. So these are the names of the places. So fundamentally, when we find Anglo-Saxon heroic poetry, you will find that Anglo-Saxon heroic poetry actually deals with the descriptions of uh, these three particular battles or war that is going on. So ultimately, there we get under the group of Anglo-Saxon heroic poetry, there comes the Battle of Brunanburg, there come the Battle of Finsburg, and also the Battle of Maldon, certainly. So that is the reason why heroic poetry is considered to be important in Anglo-Saxon period. So let us begin with the concept of heroic poetry. What do we feel? What do we mean by heroic poetry in detail? Uh, Ultimately, as we can see from this particular section, that heroic poetry is considered to be a narrative verse. As you can see here, heroic poetry is a narrative verse. So that is the fundamental focus that is being given on the concept of patterning of poetry. You will find that what is the pattern, what is the orientation of the verse that have to be treated in heroic poetry. It is considered as heroic poetry is a narrative verse. That means in the mode of narration it has been treated. that is elevated in mood. So these are the features of heroic poetry, to be specific. Elevated in mood, that means the temperament is high. Obviously you will find that whenever you will deal with the heroic poems, whenever you deal with the poems of the Anglo-Saxon period, certainly you will find that the war or the battle has to be glorified, you see. So that's why it says that heroic poetry is a narrative verse, number one, and second, it is elevated in mood, and it uses dignified, dramatic, and formal style. So these are the styles: dignified style, dramatic style, formal style. Why? The style is being used to describe the deeds of aristocratic warriors or rulers. So there is another thing that is significant, that the warriors or rulers are aristocratic. That means they are coming from the upper section of the society. Now these are not a mere a kind of, uh, to some extent, the lower graded soldiers. Rather they are the aristocratic warriors. That's why we are reading the story of Rodger. That's why we are reading the story of Beowulf. So ultimately, you will find that there are ample provisions of or mentioning of the warriors and rulers that have to be traced, that have to be considered as coming from the aristocratic part. That means the upper strata of society. Okay, so then it says that it is usually composed within the aid of writing and is chanted or recited. Now, there is the particular reference that I have already told or mentioned in this particular lecture, that ultimately, whenever we deal with this particular pattern of writing, we find that there is a particular provision to the scopes or the minstrels, and ultimately we'll get that these patterns of poetry was chanted or recited with the accompaniment of stringed instruments. So it's a kind of a bird, you see, B-A-R-D, and it's a kind of a minstrel or maybe scop who are associated with the chanting or reciting of such kind of poems like Anglo-Saxon heroic poetry. And what happens, that as the written formation of the heroic poems were not available, so what we could trace that it was transmitted orally from bird to bird over generations. So that were the pattern of heroic poetry that were found to be present during that particular period. Now you will find that the Anglo-Saxon literature, they actually frequently took up the theme of fights and hostilities. It's already been mentioned that the literature, as we know, it is the product of the society. And for the same reason, it is supposed to, and it really does, mirror the contemporary conventions, as we see. And it deals the ideals of the society as well as the temperament of a particular community. All these things are found to be present in literature in general. So that's why you will find that the Anglo-Saxon literature, it took up the theme of fights and hostilities, in which the nobility of a character was brought out through a display of courage. That's why you will get Beowulf and others. Valor, loyalty to the Lord, the community, and a thirst for glory. So that was the basic temperament. The display of the courage, the display of valor, the display of loyalty to the Lord, it is very important and significant. As you can see that whenever we deal with any particular regime that have been ruled by a monarch, we find that the loyalty or showing loyalty or obedience, it's a very important and significant issue. So that's why there is the loyalty to the Lord, and the community, the thirst for glory, that have to be considered very important here, as glory was the most coveted thing at the time. Why? Because death lurked everywhere. Everybody knows or knew at the time that I could face death at any moment. So therefore, so much as I live, I must live my life with proper glory. Just because I have to be a name, a name that should be mentioned, that should be remembered by the future generations, because the life is short, and now it is my trend and tendency to do something that could be remembered after me, right? So that's why glory was the most coveted thing, and because death was lurking everywhere, and the attainment of glory, it meant a claim to immortality. The heroic poems of the Anglo-Saxon period actually reflected such kind of ideals, as we see. The Anglo-Saxon heroic poetry is the nearest one can get to the oral pagan literature of the heroic age of Germania. That is too specific, that it deals with some oral pagan literature. You see what is pagan, as I mentioned earlier, and also I will discuss it when I will discuss with the religious poetry. The pagan form actually indicates or interprets a kind of literature that was associated with the matter of paganism. You know, the pre-Christian temperament of regarding religion where paganism actually existed. So Anglo-Saxon heroic poetry is nearest one can get to the oral pagan literature of Germania, okay, and of surviving Anglo-Saxon literature. As we know, the heroic poetry brings modern readers most closely into contact with the Germanic origins of the invaders of Britain. That means from where they are coming actually. This is written in Old English, okay, or Anglo-Saxon, and the verses used in uh, is usually alliterative and stressed, so that is a kind of a technical and structural perspective. That is, the alliterative verses, alliterations have been made and the stressed on there, and they were without any rhyme. So that was the pattern of writing the poetry. Obviously, you will find. Uh, each line contains, the four stressed syllables with a varying number of unstressed ones. So the syllables are stressed, four stressed syllables, and there could be much more syllables that remained unstressed at the time. The stressed alliterative verse of Anglo-Saxon pure poetry is clearly the product of an oral court minstrelsy. That means, that is a pattern of oral minstrelsy. That means to be heard and remembered and performed during places, you see, and to be remembered in detail in future, being intended to be recited by the scop who frequented the halls of kings and chiefs, and sometimes even found service under the master or one master. So that is the fundamental perspectives of the heroic poetry. Uh, what is heroic poetry? What are the chief features of heroic poetry? Why heroic poetry in Anglo-Saxon period is so important? What were the subject matters of these heroic poems, and how we can gather some informations, how we can gather some references regarding Anglo-Saxon life. So that is the first part of this particular lecture, and I will continue this particular lecture again in our next class. So up to this, thank you.